This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Diane Roberts. More Chinese cities have eased some antivirus restrictions as police patrol the streets to head off protests. AP correspondent Karen Chalmers reports.
Many major cities, including Chengdu in the southwest, announced they were easing testing requirements and controls on movement. In some areas, markets and bus services reopened. The announcements did not mention the recent protests in Shanghai, Beijing and at least 6 other cities. The protests erupted in response to tough antivirus restrictions, which saw millions throughout China confined to their homes. The recent loosening of restrictions is a sign President Xi Jinping's government was trying to subdue public anger after there were some calls by protesters for Xi to resign. I'm Karen Chamas.
The demonstrations mark the biggest show of civil disobedience in mainland China since President Xi Jinping took power a decade ago. And in the U.S., state of Michigan, officials say deaths linked to COVID-19 have now surpassed 40,000, with most occurring in people who are older, unvaccinated, or have comorbidities. AP correspondent Jennifer King.
Nick DeRusha is the public health officer in 4 Upper Peninsula counties in Michigan. He says he's disappointed that some people are still choosing not to use tools that are widely available to prevent death from COVID-19, like vaccinations and booster shots. There were still 113 deaths in the past week. The state's reporting more than 40,000 deaths since the pandemic began. Dr. Daniel Call, a professor of infectious diseases at the University of Michigan, says this wave feels different. Most deaths since March have been occurring outside hospitals, in extended care facilities, hospice situations, or among people who may have multiple other medical issues going on. I'm Jennifer King.
This is VOA News. Congolese and security experts are reacting cautiously Thursday to the announcement of an impending truce in an escalating conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. VOA's Marissa Melton has more.
A militia called the M23 has been gaining ground since mounting an offensive in North Kivu province earlier this year and is within a few dozen kilometers of Goma, a city of around 1 million people. The fighting has sparked a surge in diplomatic tensions with neighboring Rwanda, which Congo accuses of abetting the rebels, a charge that Kigali denies. This week, talks between the two countries in the Angolan capital, Luanda, gave rise to an agreement for an immediate ceasefire starting Friday. Both sides agreed to demand the immediate withdrawal of the M23 from the occupied areas. But the M23 group, which did not take part in negotiations, expressed disinterest in the ceasefire announcement and called for a direct dialogue with the government of DRC. Kinshasa has ruled out such negotiations. Marissa Melton, VOA News.
The trial of a Hong Kong newspaper publisher who was arrested in a crackdown on a pro-democracy movement was postponed Thursday after the territory's leader asked China to effectively block him from hiring a British defense lawyer. Jimmy Lai faces a possible life sentence if convicted under a national security law imposed by the ruling Communist Party on the former British colony. Lai, the founder of the now-defunct Apple Daily, is accused of conspiring together with others to call for an imposition of sanctions or blockade or engage in hostile activities against Hong Kong or China. French President Emmanuel Macron on Thursday repeated his frustration with U.S. subsidies, saying they were hurting European economies by providing an unfair advantage to the American competitors. He told ABC's Good Morning America broadcast the subsidies, quote, are perhaps very good for the U.S. economy, end quote, but they create, quote, the absence of a level playing field, end quote, because, he said, they were not properly coordinated with the European economies. U.S. President Joe Biden will host the French leader for talks Thursday at the White House, and then Macron will be guest of honor at a state dinner Thursday night, the first state dinner in Biden's administration. The Prince and Princess of Wales are in the United States on their first overseas trip since the death of Queen Elizabeth II. The 3-day trip to the city of Boston included a professional basketball game Wednesday night and will culminate Friday with the awarding of the Prince's signature Earthshot Prize, a global competition aimed at finding new ways to protect the planet and tackle climate change. This is VOA News.
Hi, thank you for watching. I hope the videos are useful for you. Please subscribe to my channel using the button below.